can Nigeria begin to leverage on these possibilities, this huge potential in the Nigerian market and the Chinese export, and also we exporting? How can we begin to leverage on these benefits?
Well, thank you very much. I think, this calls into question or into activation, policy and structural reforms on our part in order to maximize our relationship with China and to see the opportunities offered by the BRI, like the Belt and Road Initiative, the FOCAC initiative, and also the intergovernmental framework. That was actually the first plenary meeting of that intergovernmental framework between Nigeria and China held in July 2024, when Minister Tugar met with Foreign Minister Wang Yi in Beijing. So within these three frameworks, I think the structures at home should be established in the form of a national committee on FOCAC, whereby government agencies and private sector will be brought together to streamline priorities for Nigeria in terms of engaging with China towards the development of the economy of the country. And here we should give prominence to the Nigerian private sector, manufacturers, exporters, producers, farmers, livestock rearers, and others, in terms of, number one, accessing credit and finance to develop the productive forces of the country. And number two, in order to develop the capacity for us to export to China and to the rest of the world. Today, you cannot grow your economy without production and without export. We may have the internal capacity by numbers to absorb a lot of the production that we carry on in Nigeria and also to export to West Africa, but that is not enough. We need to expand to have a niche in the world market, particularly in the Chinese market. So I would suggest that there should be immediately establish a governmental framework for the implementation of the China-Africa, Nigeria-China outcomes in terms of a ministerial committee that will consist also of the private sector. Now, the second proposal that I will submit is the role of leadership is very, very critical in terms of giving direction, focus, and purpose to any relationship with any country. Now, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has been to China, and right now, as we speak, I think he went to Abu Dhabi for a meeting on sustainable development. These are critical initiatives that are being taken by the president. But the president is not the implementer. He does not come to a Ministry of National Planning or Industry or Commerce to sit down on the desk of the minister to carry out the functions of the minister. It is the ministers who are supposed to really sit down, calibrate the decisions that have been reached at that high level, and start mainstreaming them into the programs of their individual ministries. And let us not forget the subnational level, that is the governors. Governors play a critical role in the cohesion of policies and programs in Nigeria. So governors should also be taken on board in terms of the formulation of strategies for implementing development programs and agreements that have been reached between Nigeria and foreign countries. Now, in terms of leadership, I think I want to contextualize the role of leadership by citing one example, just one example. Deng Xiaoping, the Chinese leader who opened up China in the 1980s to the world, visited Japan in October 1978. He was taken to various places in Japan, especially to Nippon Steel in Japan. What he saw actually amazed him and actually created a feeling that China was backward at that time. And he came back and told the Communist Party leadership that we cannot live by ideology. We have to develop our productive forces. We have to develop our economy. Following that, immediately in December 1978, an agreement was signed between China and Japan to establish a steel factory in Shanghai. 10,000 Japanese steel workers and experts were sent to Shanghai, 10,000 to establish the steel factory. 3,000 Chinese steel workers were sent to Japan to learn the art and science of steel production. In 5 years' time, by 1985, the Shanghai steel mill became the second largest steel producer in the world. And also, steel production in China rose from a mere 3 million tons to 30 billion tons a year. And the foundation of Chinese prosperity and strength today was on the steel industry. And here we are in Nigeria today, Ajaokuta Steel Company, various steel rolling mills in Katsina, Alaja, Jos, and others are actually out of production. So if we set up our priorities right, the sky is the limit in terms of developing the capacity and productive forces of the Nigerian economy by having this strategic engagement with China. Today, automobile production is at the center of dispute between EU, America, Canada, and other countries with China. China today is the largest automotive producer in the world, especially electric vehicles. And that means components for producing electric vehicles will be needed by China more and more, increasingly. And they are looking to Africa, Latin America, Central Asia, and other parts of the world to access critical minerals like lithium and also copper and others to be able to cope with this massive production of electric vehicles. China produces the largest electric panels in the world today. So why don't we strategically sit down, scope the trajectory of development of the Chinese economy in the next 5 years, and see where we can tap in terms of supplying not only raw materials, but also finished products from our own side to fit into the larger picture of Chinese production in the world. Indeed, we can even create space for Chinese manufacturing to take place in Nigeria. And here I think the Lee Group in Kano can serve as an example. They are employing thousands of people in Nigeria. They are manufacturing a lot of things on the ground, but that is not enough. We should go beyond that to look at the fourth industrial revolution. What is going on? How is it being carried out? And what role can Nigeria play? And here, I think it is very critical for us to engage the Nigerian private sector. The Nigerian private sector, virtually we should realize that government doesn't produce anything. It is the private sector, the farmer, the manufacturer, the small-scale industrialists, the big industrialists who produce and manufacture. So how do we support them? Let us open avenues for them to access Chinese funds. The 2 billion yuan facility that have been now established in the Central Bank of Nigeria, thanks to agreement, the policy framework developed by President Buhari before he left office, and now thanks to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who concurred in this arrangement. We have the 2 billion yuan facility established in the central bank by way of currency swap. That means Nigerian business people can access money readily in Nigeria to buy things from China or to pay for imports. And this is very critical. Let us sensitize the business community of this facility and others that are available so that they can benefit from that and grow the Nigerian economy as quickly as possible.